Good evening or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. I'm Elizabeth George, Chief Membership Officer with the American Guild of Organists, and I am so excited tonight for you to meet a group of wonderful, wonderful people who are so passionate about bringing the organ and educating younger people all about the organ in a variety of different ways. Interestingly, during the Year of the Young Organist, we found out that we recruited 22 young organists under the age of 12. And that has prompted the AGO to really think about, this is the future. This is the future of our association, is reaching younger people, as young as we can get. And last August, Bill Astian from the Twin Cities chapter and Sue Mitchell-Wallace, one of our regional counselors, and I sat and met in Seattle, and Sue shared some of the PipeWorks work that had been done before, and Phil's shared a wonderful thing that they do in Twin Cities chapter with Pipe Organ Discovery Day. So I'm not going to spend a lot of more time talking about this other than to say we do hope that you will post questions in the Q&A box down at the bottom. This is being recorded, and probably within 48 hours, we'll send a link out to all of the chapter leaders. So I'll just want to share our illustrious panel who's with us tonight. We have Erin Chesley, who is the Executive Director of Orgel Kids USA. We have Phil Astian, who is the Education Chair of the Twin Cities chapter. And we have Sue Mitchell-Wallace, who is Chair of the Regional Counselors and also very, very active in her own chapter, the Atlanta chapter. And we have Jane Kane, who is a Southeast region education coordinator, but had the pleasure of really getting to know the Orgel Kids kit when she was dean of the Charlotte chapter, and she still is involved in training some of the facilitators. And last but not least, we have Dawn Mahler, who is the dean-elect of the Nashville chapter, who's very, very excited because they have purchased one and it is on its way. Delivery should be any day now, and they are so excited about this. You also see we have Molly Davion, who is our education program manager. And Molly is, well, we think we have a surprise that's going to happen later this evening. There's a gentleman named Vincent Ryan who has been such a proponent of teaching, bringing the Orgel Kids kits, creating recitals, bringing them into libraries. In fact, that's what he's doing tonight. And we're catching him in between 3 presentations that were all sold out at the Horsham Library in Pennsylvania. So we're hoping that technology will work and we can bring him live just to say a few words. But let's get started first. And there's no better person to lay the groundwork for all of this than Erin Chesley, who is our Executive Director of Orgel Kids USA. All you have to do is unmute yourself, please. That's okay.
Thank you. Hello, I am Erin Chesley, and I came to this as a mom with no musical background, but my son, around the age of 2, became entranced with the pipe organ and started a long-term fascination with the pipe organ. And that led us naturally to our local AGO chapter, but it also led us to discovering this amazing resource, the Orgel Kids Pipe Organ Kit. It's a 133-piece puzzle that can take a group anywhere from 30 minutes to over 2 hours to piece together a working pipe organ. It works for small groups on up to throngs of the public in city streets, people who might not have started that day knowing that they were going to become an organ builder, by the end of the day. We found it via a Google search in 2015, and at that time, there were only 2 of these kits in the world, and they were both in the Netherlands. It was dreamed up by Lydia Vrogenwijs, founder of Orgel Kids, and Wim Janssen, a retired organ builder. And the concept, the execution was so compelling, so worthy of a wider reach that Lydia agreed to give us the plans for us to find a US builder And in exchange, our family has worked as volunteers to introduce this kit to the US. From the start, AGO chapters have been a natural partner, and we have found homes for over 30 kits in the last 7 to 8 years. And if there's time later, I can show you how to find out where the nearest kit is to you. The Oracle Kids kit dovetails beautifully with AGO curriculum and materials, as you will hear from the other AGO members on this panel today. And I would say that the kit's real power, especially for AGO chapters in reaching the public and reaching new populations and younger populations, is that it allows us to bring the pipe organ to the public where organs might not otherwise be found, like outside, in schools, at science festivals. Some of what I have around me here are materials from the PipeWorks curriculum that was developed by Dr. Ruth Caswell for the Seattle AGO. And specifically, the materials I have are the STEAM materials, where STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And I have found that the Oracle Kids kit paired with PipeWorks STEAM curriculum, it acts, the science curriculum acts like the Trojan horse that opens doors to the pipe organ where those doors would otherwise not open for a pipe organ. And so overall, this has been a fascinating adventure for our family. And it's been so much fun watching the availability of this innovative tool grow with the help of AGO chapters.
Thank you. Yes, we want to add that A to STEM. We really feel that connecting that interdisciplinary of the science and the art together is what is going to excite these young people and some of the older people as well. Well, thank you, Erin. And Phil, do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing in your neck of the woods?
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is Phil Asgian from the Twin Cities chapter, and we've been doing PipeWorks for about 25 years now in the Twin Cities. And I'll share just a little bit of our curriculum and what we've built out and some examples of how that has worked. And one of the things we like to do is start with the oldest pipe organ in the world, which is 300 BCE, invented by a mathematician, a Greek mathematician living in Egypt, and who also became known as the father of the pneumatic air systems. And the pipe organ really spread throughout Europe because of the Romans. So I'm going to share my screen here and share with you a picture of a Roman coin that I found on the British Museum website that shows you how the hydraulis, or the first water-powered organ, worked in Roman times. So here you have on the side a pumping mechanism. So an assistant to the organist would pump this, and then inside this chest on the bottom would be canisters of water of varying heights. And when you pumped this handle, it would force metal plunging devices into columns of water that would push air up into a wind chest here under these pipes. On the back side, you'd of course have the keys that would be used to direct air under the pipes that you wished to play. So one of the things that we do with the students is to have them actually build a working model of the hydraulis. So I'm going to share another photo real quick of some students at one of the Twin Cities schools learning about how to build a hydraulis. So here you see we got a bucket of water It's a little better than half full. We've got my makeshift plunging device simulating what the Romans would have done in metal, and a flexible hose. So these are all materials you can get locally. You can see we got an organ pipe, and these wooden blocks are interesting because these simulate what the keys were like on the old water-powered organ. They were 3 inches wide. These blocks of wood are 3 inches wide, and you couldn't play with your fingers. You had to play them with your fists, similar to playing the baton on a modern day carillon, which some of you may have had the experience of doing. And related to this water-powered organ, here's another example of another group of students and how this works. So here's a real short video I'm going to share. Water. So now before we do that, let's think about what's happening. We have water in here, right? What's in here? What's in here? Air is in here. So what's going to happen when the air in here, hits the water there? What's going to happen?
Displacement.
That's right. The water is going to push the air through this plunger, and then the Romans had metal tubing. I just did this because it was quick and easy and cheap to make, okay? But the water's going to push the air up here. It's going to go all the way through the tube, and when it gets up here, what's it going to do? It's going to toot, right? So do you think this is going to work?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a gap in there, so.
Huh?
There's a gap.
Well, when you push it down all the way.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's see if we can make this work. You ready? See, and if you really got good at it, you could kind of be a little musical. You could kind of do it longer or more shorter notes, right? So this is just a brief example of some of the fun we have with kids young and old that love to play with water and learn techniques that still, to a certain extent, are in use with different technologies for the pipe organ today.
I would have loved to have been there during that demo. That looked like so much fun.
And what I'm going to do is just briefly here, I'm going to put into the chat a link to our PipeWorks program in the Twin Cities, so you can find out more information about our program and how it works. And I have just a couple other things to share briefly with you. And that is relating to our emphasis on technology and STEAM education. I've just shared links to 3 videos that our chapter produced in collaboration with Minnesota Public Radio on the organ. And it goes through different types of organs, where you can find them, how they work, and what performers and composers have done to use the vast resources of the pipe organ over time. And just lastly, I have one other thing to share with you, and that is one of our young artists getting excited about playing our little demonstration instrument, which we call Mini Opus. Functions similar to the Orgle Kids. You can bring it anywhere, and we use this to teach how the technology of the organ works. And we've brought it all over the state of Minnesota and into Wisconsin. So that's a brief overview of some of what we've done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Phil. And we'll be putting these links. We're going to have a handout, so we'll put those in. And I have to tell you, I just enjoyed so much those 3 videos that in conjunction with the Minnesota Public Radio were produced. I mean, one of them is a lady sitting at a ballpark playing the organ. And so whenever my husband and I will just say, he's a Yankees fan, whenever we are watching a game, I will say, now, do you think that's recorded or do you think that's live? And we'll usually have an argument about it until we research it. And then we go, see, I was right. No, you were right, whatever.
Elizabeth, if I could just add one other thing related to the ballpark organ that you mentioned, and that is I forgot to mention what the Romans used the pipe organ for. And one of the main things the Romans used the pipe organ for was at the Roman Colosseum to rev up the crowds at the gladiator fights. So we all know where the sports stadium entertainment came from.
Excellent point. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Well, Sue, please tell us a little bit about your thoughts of where you see this wonderful initiative going and what the Atlanta chapter has done. They've just stepped their toes into the water, haven't they? They just recently received this kit.
Yes, I wanted to hearken back to Dr. Ruth Caswell. She did not have the benefit of having a wonderful Orgle Kids kit. And she, on her own, was able to get a prototype organ that was larger and considerably more cumbersome to move. And her program in the Seattle school system actually lasted for 2 weeks. And they did a lot of hands-on, but she also connected with the faculties of the schools where she was. So they had drama, so they studied the lives of composers who wrote for the organ. Then she had history, and then she brought the science teacher in. And it was one of the most amazing collaborative exercises, and she deserves a lot of credit. Also, Erin deserves a lot of credit, and our wonderful lady in the Netherlands. And it's just, I call it a God incidence that these two ladies met and forged this friendship and this cooperation. And thousands of lives are already being touched and will continue to be touched. We have used our Atlanta Orgle Kids kit twice. It's getting a reputation, and each time we use it, more people show up. And we are taking it to our Southeast Regional Convention in Augusta, and it will be available. We'll have opportunities for the convention attendees to touch it and learn from it and play with it and play on it. But also, as a new chapter, we've adopted this new child in our life, but we have to make preparations for it. It needs people, and it needs skill, and it needs organization. It needs marketing. It needs a business plan. It needs a group of ambassadors that are trained and enthusiastic who can go with it. It can't travel alone. And it also needs age-appropriate programs, because a second or third grader has a much different concept of music and sound than a sixth or seventh grader would, or a high schooler, or adults at a church camp, or senior citizens in a retirement home, or a mixed age group at a library, or students who are homeschooled. And you're getting an idea of how far and wide the web of interest can be in your respective communities if you can bring an Orgle Kids system into your world. You need to be practical. You need to think about insurance to take care of this. You need to think about how you're going to manage the calendar dates, because it's going to be one of the most popular things in the music life of your city. Word travels fast. You need to have organized system for using the props that Erin has staged so wonderfully in front of her Orgle Kids instrument. And you need to have a group of people who are very, very enthusiastic, but they also need to have a lot of patience. And they need to have a sense of humor, and they need to have an imagination that just captures the children and the adults and just carries them away. It also helps to have ambassadors who can encourage people to follow their instructions. Because taking it out of its home and putting it back into its home and putting it together is truly an in-depth puzzle. It overshadows any technical high-tech computer game I've ever seen. And the frontier for taking this Orgo Kids is unlimited. Every time I get with a group of people, they have more and more ideas about it. And this is a perfect time for chapters to think about getting involved, because our children from kindergarten all the way up to college were without fine arts for 2 or 3 years. And just as our AGO chapters are finding new ways to come back together again and get the joy of life that we used to have and the socialization that we used to have, Orgo Kids is an instant catalyst for that. And it's a way for children to make sense of math and science and art in ways that they haven't had before. Imagine having 2.5 or 3 years of looking at each other on a screen as we are tonight, and then being able to reach through that screen and touch these pipes and feel the air and put the breath into the lungs of the organ and cooperate. And another area that I'm very excited about with the Orgo Kids is that chapters, and I hope we get to hear from Mr. Ryan later tonight, chapters can sponsor composition contests and encourage the art part of this to become parts of children's lives. And the children can also learn from playing the Orgo Kids instrument itself with other instruments in the orchestra. And then they can walk through an organ chamber and it all makes sense. So the opportunities to me are limitless. And I hope what the AGO can eventually do is to have a core curriculum and a way that we can all share lesson plans and grow together and build on the creativity that so many people have, and just keep growing and growing with it, because the instruments will last for decades and decades. And I just see this, I've not been as excited about anything in the AGO for a long time. And I am excited to share this with you all. Thank you.
It is exciting. It is exciting. And I'll share my personal experience if we have time at the end. So Jane, tell us a little bit about, and I see, geez, look at what's in the background there. That just happens to be an Orgo Kids kit. But do share us how it was introduced into your chapter and how you're training facilitators. And I know you have some things to share with us, so please go right ahead.
Okay, well, when I was Dean of the Charlotte chapter in 2018, that was when Orgo Kids kind of burst onto the scene. There was a big article in the American Organist magazine, and a few months later, I think Vox Humana featured it. And so we ordered it pretty soon after we became aware of it. And we received it in late 2019. And guess what happened right away? We had planned to introduce it to the chapter at the beginning of March 2020. We got to have that meeting, and then the world closed down. So almost nothing happened with our kit for the better part of a year, but it was certainly greeted with a lot of enthusiasm by those chapter members at that first meeting. And we talked about, we're going to need more facilitators to get it out into the world, and who's interested. And almost everybody raised their hand. We have 3 chapter members that are functioning as a steering committee, and we developed guidelines and we maintain the reservation calendar. We're planning to have a training session very soon to train some more facilitators, but we've been having a little trouble getting that calendared, but it's coming soon. Normally, for now, one of the three of us takes it around when it gets requested, and one person maintains the calendar. I wanted to comment on how wonderful, first of all, what a thing of beauty this is. The craftsmanship, it's a pleasure to handle it. And I think children, really learn in a tactile way what a thing of beauty and quality and craftsmanship is when they handle this. The kit comes with a whole lot of very detailed instructions and photographs of how to put it together. You can set it out on tables in about 5 different stations and have groups working to put the pipes in order and put the keys in order and set the pipes on the toe board and so forth, so that you can involve a lot of people at one time. And it comes also with a book of music that's specifically arranged to fit on this 2-octave scale. And I wanted to share a few things of where we've used it now so far that it's been in action. We've presented it at several church summer music camps and some church children's choirs. We've used it at 2 different Pedals, Pipes, and Pizza events in our chapter. We've taken it to a POE in Winston-Salem, and those kids put it together in about 20 minutes flat. We had allowed about an hour and a half, and they were like all over it. A middle school, high school organ competition, which was kind of a weekend workshop, if you will. The Davidson College organ students put it together recently. I took it to the Montreat Music Conference and set it up in the lobby for an extended period of time, and just let anybody who walked by work on it. It's been to a Title I school in Albemarle, and I've seen it set up in the narthex of a church where people were coming in to come to an organ recital. I'm going to share my screen and show you just a few quick photos of these events. This is the event. You can see children down here putting the keys in order, and this adult is putting the pipes onto the toe board. There's the children, very absorbed. An adult is putting looks like she's attaching the trackers. That's these little pieces of leather or rubber. I'm not sure what they are. This guy wouldn't go away. He was so excited about this. He spent like an hour there. And this is when the Davidson College students had put it together and were playing it. So there they are with big smiles on their faces. They loved it. And the last thing I wanted to comment was when you're ordering the kit, you need to think carefully about where you're going to store it. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but you want to try and find a central location where people can access it pretty easily. Our chapter is quite spread out, and we started out it was going to be stored at Pfeiffer College. Well, that's an hour's drive from my house. So we're looking for a church in Central Charlotte that will store it for us. Then we can just go get it and take it back there. So it's always in the right place. So we are having great adventures with this and are quite excited about it. And I keep getting inspired. We got to do more. There's so much more we can do.
Well, you mentioned
Thank you.
something. First of all, you're the keeper of the organ at the moment, I can see.
At the moment, yes.
Talking about Title I schools. And we are in the process of putting a guidebook together. Collectively, a lot of us have been working on this, that will have information about where to reach out to Title I schools, because that's where you may get some funding. And what a wonderful thing to be able to bring music and this kit into schools that don't have any science or arts programs.
Mhm.
So you've taken it to so many different places. It's amazing what you have done pre-COVID. Really exciting, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to do as you kick it off again in the next season. Well, Dawn, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and just share a little bit, because you had some great ideas about how you plan to use this Orgle Kids kit.
One of our members, Marcia Schusner, was at Seattle, the AGO convention. And there she ran into Erin Sheasley, who had the Orgle kit there. And she came back so enthused about it and so excited about it. She spoke with me and convinced me to carry it on so she didn't have to do anything. So I would have to take on trying to get the organ kit going. But we're really excited. So as Dean-elect, I want to have a couple of pedals, pipes, and pieces next year. And the Orgle kit, dovetails perfectly with that initiative. So I went to our executive committee and this past fall, and spoke with them and about the possibility of funding the project. They decided to fund it. They got excited. So we signed a contract in December, and we hope to receive it very soon. We're planning on using it in July. So I'm hoping soon. And Jane Kane, who just spoke from Charlotte, she sent me a lot of their stuff, guidelines and agreements and stuff. And plus on the Orgle Kids USA website, there are rental agreements and things like that. So we use those two resources. Were great for setting up our own guidelines and rental agreements and things like that, which I think you do need. You need to have, as Sue said, organization. You have to have it organized somehow. And we're going to be doing it a little differently. Erin sends hers out to anyone, wherever, and she's not there. Jane in Charlotte, they go with it. So we're going to do sort of a hybrid. So we're going to try, and we'll change if it doesn't work. We're going to have our facilitators will be people who have worked with it, who know how to take it apart, put it together, and they will then hold classes at least once, but probably 2 or 3 times a year. So if some person wants to borrow it, they have to attend one of these classes on building it, taking it apart, and seeing how it happens. Then they must go to the church, which we have where it's going to be, to pick it up and bring it back, and with the contract and everything. So that's how we're going to do our facilitators. They're the ones who, and if you don't take the class, you can't borrow the organ, because we want to make sure they understand the use of it. And as incoming dean, I have had 2 main thrusts, I'd say, for the year. And the first is to rebuild our chapter's community and connections. So we've lost so much over COVID, but excuse me, to rebuild that. And the second is to give people who love the organ, but necessarily aren't organists and love choral music, reasons to join our chapter. So we're going to really be pushing our members to search out chapter friends in their congregations to help, and hopefully they'll become full members with time. And one way that we felt to encourage membership is this organ kit. And we see it as a great instrument, resource to help foster an interest in organ and to help our chapter grow. And in talking together, here's what we have sort of envisioned to start with. With children, we see it being very, very useful in children's choirs programs. I know when I was still working, my 4- and 5-year-old choir, which was my greatest experience, I was introducing them to the organ every year. This would be a wonderful thing for just, even if they don't put it together, they may be too young, but to see it, to see what it can do, where they can get down on at their size, plus our older children's choirs. Summer music camps. Our church has a summer music camp, and many do. It'd be a great way to introduce kids there. Summer vacation Bible schools even. They usually have a musical component. It'd be a super thing. And with youth, maybe have youth choirs or different groups of youth, to use it with them, to maybe encourage some of them who might play a trumpet or a flute or something, to take piano lessons or to take organ eventually. And then adults, we saw it being used with Sunday school classes, women's groups, men's groups, different groups within the church. And particularly thought for our members, it would be a wonderful resource if they're planning on rebuilding an organ, getting a new organ, convincing their congregation to go that way. This is a great way for them to take it around to all these different people and see how an organ actually is, because most people don't understand how complicated it is. This would give them a sense. And then also for our chapter, if we want to do some PPPs, POEs, we see a great resource there. And then an outreach to the community. And we're hoping some of our chapter members will find a calling there, because we want, at this point, we want a chapter member to go with it out into the community, not just someone to come in a bar, but someone from our chapter go. And we see museums. We have several that have children's activities in town. We have an adventure science center for children. So that's one way. Homeschool organizations, they're always looking for activities. So we could host an activity somewhere, public and private schools. So we're looking at all of those. And also the area colleges have some Oregon students, and to do what Jane did at Davidson College, to take it to them. So that's sort of where we are. And we're getting excited, and we hope we'll be able to report back as many of the wonderful things that everyone else is talking about they've done. You're muted, Elizabeth.
I am muted. I got so excited because I saw Vincent Ryan came on, and he was showing in the background some kids that were around an Orgle Kids kit. Vince, how are you?
Oh, we're doing well. And hello from Horsham, Pennsylvania. We just had our third Orgle Kids presentation of the day. And these children wanted to say hello. Say hi, everybody. So they just finished, and we're going to have a little demonstration for you before we let you carry on. But thank you for letting us jump in here tonight. Go ahead and play something. Great, thank you. Oh, so she ran out of air. So the most powerful person in the room is the one who works the bellows. So, but yeah, thank you for letting us jump in. We're going to kind of leave you alone and carry on. I hope everything's going well, and it's nice to see everybody.
Oh, Vince, we're just so thrilled that you could just come live tonight and be with us. So thank you. And say hey to all the kids for us.
Yep, they say hi. Say bye, everybody.
And don't forget to encourage them to join the AGO, okay?
Yeah, right. I'm handing out applications on the way out.
Thank
All right,
you.
good night. Yep,
Night, thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we saw firsthand how engaged children can be, but I love, Don, you really have the beginnings of the business plan in place, and it's multi-generational, which I love so much, because we realize how this wonderful, wonderful instrument can empower and just be such a positive experience for, it doesn't matter what age you are. Aaron, did you want to screen share again and show a little bit about where you can find things on your website? And
Sure.
okay.
I'll share real quick how to find if there is a kit nearby. So if you go to our website, orglekidsusa.org, in the upper right-hand corner is a drop-down menu. And hopefully a lot of good information in there, but for right now, we're going to focus on where in the world are Orgle Kids kits. And so Lydia Vrogenweis and I maintain this. It's an embedded Google map. And when a kit gets commissioned, we put a pin on the map. So you can then zoom in, and here's the United States. And you see, choose your geographic area to see what resources are nearby. And if you click on one of the pins, information, the name of who owns that kit, and hopefully a link to their website or some communication information. For instance, I think, in fact, if it's kind of crowded over here, but Vince Ryan, who we just saw live hosting those workshops in the library, he's one of these pins. And I have to zoom in. He has his email address directly on that pin for ease of use, so people can quickly get in contact with him. Let's see, he's stuck behind Bryn Mawr. There he is. So he grabbed the email address orglkidspa@yahoo.com. He has a YouTube channel dedicated to wonderful materials he's coming up with. He does a wonderful meshed mashup of concert and Orgle Kids build, where during your typical concert, an Orgle Kids kit is being built, interspersed with music from the big organ, and volunteers coming up from the audience to build the various components. And between the music, Vince stops and talks about the next component that they're going to be building. And the volunteers get rewarded with a cookie, a pipe organ cookie. This is the cookie cutter. So, it's been fun. I definitely recommend following Vince's YouTube channel because he comes up with so many wonderful, great ideas.
Yeah, I found his Facebook page too, which is wonderful, and sort of shares where he's going to be next. I don't know, Molly, what do you think that cookie cutter? Do you think we could sell that in our store online?
Maybe.
Actually, it's my kids sell it. So it was developed in the Netherlands, but my high schooler improved the design. And so I let my boys be the entrepreneurs and said, do you want to handle this? If orders come in, they'll print you out one and stick it in the mail.
All right, we'll have to buy some from them then.
Along with
Do
some,
you want to add anything?
I also just wanted to say that I traveled to Indiana University of Pennsylvania this past fall when Vince Ryan was giving an Orgle Kids kit demonstration. And we have that up on the AGO website, and I'll also put it in the chat. It's about 30 minutes long, and it's not only a demonstration, but it's also a mini concert, complete with some pieces written by Rochelle Loren, played by some of the kids who put the Orgle Kids kit together, and also a piece that Vince Ryan plays with a bassoonist and a flautist. So I hope that I've piqued your interest, and I hope that you check it out. I am putting it in the chat as we speak.
Thank you. Well, any questions? We've got 21 people on joining us in this program, which I think is great. And I hope we piqued your interest. When I did a road trip up the west coast of California last fall, I met with 3 chapters in the Bay Area, and I think I've planted the seed that the 3 of them could collaborate together in purchasing an Orgle Kids kit. So I think if you have a chapter nearby, if there are a couple of chapters that might want to collaborate and chip in together to purchase one, that would be a great idea, and offset some of the costs so that your chapter isn't assuming all of it. We are, as I said, we're putting together a guidebook for chapters that have the kit now that's really going to go over from the very beginning. Congratulations, you've got it. Now, what do you do with it? How to get started, who to contact, where to go, wonderful resources such as what you can see on Orgle Kids USA website, where to find the Title I schools that might be in areas that you can reach out to. So I want to thank my group here. We've been collaborating on this, and hopefully within another couple of months, we will release this very, very proudly. And we'll probably have to do another webinar just to present the guidebook. But any final thoughts from anyone that they wanted to add tonight? No?
I would just add one thing, and that is, regardless of what instrument you have, there's a great amount of resources. And to Elizabeth's point, we'll put this examples in the guidebook. But there's a lot of good things that can be done to engage very young audiences. And I know Dawn mentioned organ committees. I know in the Twin Cities, we've done 2 demonstrations for organ committees just within the past month. So another good use.
That's a great use. Well, I had the pleasure of visiting the Central Iowa chapter on Friday night, and they did a wonderful, wonderful recital. And when you came out into the lobby, there was their Orgle kids that they call Piper. And I have shared with many people that I am not an organist when they've asked me what kind of organ I play, but now I can say very proudly that I have played the Orgle kids organ. And so that's my organ. And I am very, very proud to be able to say that. So Phil, Jane, Aaron, Don, Molly, Sue, and Vince, thank you so much for sharing all the wonderful things that you have done, that you're planning to do. This is so exciting. And I think this is the beginning of a wonderful initiative. Aaron.
We have a question in the chat from Charlotte
Aha.
Blank.
Love what you've all been sharing. My church got a kit during the pandemic, May 2020, and I've been slowly trying to create programming, but it's mostly been me alone. And I have 2 kids, one born just 5 months ago. Oh my goodness, you have a hard time, Charlotte. I have a hard time finding time outside of my normal job, but I hope to gain volunteers to help. Do you have any suggestions for trying to create a program that's part of a church? We already have a big outreach program to inner city Akron, but I don't know where to find the time. Anybody want to answer that, or several people?
Well, I can tell you that I have some sample programs, and I have one that we can put in the guidebook quite readily. I was just contacted by some grad students in the Midwest that were looking to do a summer music camp STEAM program, and laid out a program for them, and very willing to share that. And we can put that into the to the guidebook and walk through some examples.
Excellent. Excellent. I think Molly, you wanted to add something as well.
No, I was just going to point to the question.
Oh, okay. Okay. And one comment is thank you so much from our executive director, James Thomas Schauer, who has attended this webinar and wanted to just thank all of the panelists. And I will just echo that. What fun, what fun, what a great, great evening. Thank you all so much for all that you are doing to bring this wonderful instrument into a new generation of future organists and future members of the AGO. So thank you all, everybody, take care, and we will say good night.